In 1972, 3 boys were born. One of them was named David. When David grew up, he became fluent in 6 languages and had an IQ of over 180, and these traits would serve him well. He became known as the man who makes the impossible possible and became a living legend while serving in the Black Ops. His career as a Green Beret confirmed those things as well. In 1995, at the age of 23, he was asked to join the Special Forces unit Foxhound. Foxhound, or Force Operation X, dealt with covert operations too politically sensitive for the public. By the time he was recruited by Big Boss, Foxhound were in dire straits, as their top agent, Grey Fox, had failed to infiltrate an enemy mercenary fortress known as Outer Haven. He became a captive, thus the need for David to infiltrate and extract his colleague. When entering the premises of enemy territory, a codename was given to David. Big Boss gave him the name Solid Snake, and thus Operation Intrude N313 was initiated. Solid Snake was victorious. He rescued Grey Fox and destroyed the bipedal tank known as Metal Gear TX-55, but found out that his mentor and chief, Big Boss, was the one orchestrating it all. As he struck down his former commander, he escaped the collapsing complex and saw Outer Haven obliterate in the horizon. In 1999, Solid Snake was brought out of retirement by the new commander of Foxhound, Roy Campbell. This time he had to rescue a Czech scientist, Dr. Keo Marv. Keo had invented a new fuel source known as Oilix and was on his way to present his product to the world when he was kidnapped by soldiers from a place called Zanzibar Land. As Snake proceeded, he met an old friend. Kyle Schneider, an informant and rebel who helped him 4 years ago, was still alive, but not as one could expect. His body was too damaged, so he was fitted with an exoskeleton and cybernetic enhancements in order for him to be operational. Regrettably, Snake had to take him down. This was the 3rd time he had to kill someone he once fought alongside with. Before dying, Kyle relieved some information to Snake. Apparently, Big Boss never died during the Outer Haven mission. He had retreated and rebuilt his mercenary community. He was the leader of Zanzibar Land. Snake also met Gustava Hefner, bodyguard of Dr. Keo Marv and former lover of Grey Fox. When Keo Marv's plane was hijacked, she was forced to escape and disguise herself as one of the enemy soldiers in order to survive. When she met Snake, she decided to help him. As Snake and Gustava was to traverse a bridge to a detention camp, a new kind of Metal Gear made its appearance by blowing up the bridge. The blast threw Gustava through the air, landing her in front of Snake. From the speaker, he could hear a familiar voice calling out to him. Grey Fox was still alive, but he had defected and was now working for Big Boss once again. Gustava suffered heavy injuries and died in Snake's arms. Seeing how people relentlessly died around him, he became even more determined to stop Big Boss and Grey Fox. Snake finally managed to take out the Metal Gear D. He pursued Grey Fox and caught him in the middle of a minefield which was to become their final battleground. After an extended unarmed fight, Grey Fox finally fell down. Snake resumed his hunt for Big Boss, but his gear had been damaged, leaving him with only some rations, a lighter and a spray can. Somehow he managed to utilize these effectively and defeated Big Boss a 2nd time. This event caused Snake to retreat to Alaska. Fed up with warfare and suffering from psychic traumas, he left his old ways behind him. Six years passed, and David's quiet life in the Alaskan wilderness was to come to an end. Roy Campbell, his commander from the mission in Zanzibar land, contacted him again. As it appeared, the colonel was no longer in charge of Foxhound. Snake's old organization has rebelled against the US and was now controlled by a mysterious man called Liquid Snake, with a sole purpose to obtain the Metal Gear Rex. Snake set out to shadow Moses, and once again there were more to it than first met the eye. During his mission, Snake encountered a number of people, both from the past and new ones, that would come to share his future. Hal Emmerich, also known as Otacon, was a scientist that had been forced to develop the Metal Gear Rex and, after being rescued by Snake, joined forces with him. They then formed the organization Philanthropy. He also met a woman named Meryl Silverberg, the niece of Roy Campbell. He also met the new Foxhound members, Decoy Octopus, Psycho Mantis, Revolver Ocelot, Vulcan Raven, Sniper Wolf, and their leader, Liquid Snake. Later he found out that he and Liquid were brothers, both sprung from an experiment known as l'Enfant Terrible, the Monster Children. He also met a person known as the Cyborg Ninja. He was determined to fight with Snake and interrupted his mission, demanding a fistfight. Snake accepted the challenge and beat him. He later revealed himself to be the remnants of Grey Fox, Snake's old brother-in-arms turned traitor. When Snake was battling the Metal Gear Rex, he decided to absolve his past crimes and help Snake by sacrificing himself for the cause. This gives Snake the opportunity to put an end to the Metal Gear Rex. An enraged Liquid challenged Snake to an unarmed final fight on top of the now deactivated Rex. Snake defeated his brother and fled from the facility with Meryl and Otacon. Liquid Snake pursued and ambushed them, but then died from the Fox-Die virus. Two years after Shadow Moses, in 2007, Philanthropy followed an anonymous tip concerning the location of a new Metal Gear. Snake infiltrated a military tanker to investigate, but was interrupted by Revolver Ocelot, a gunslinger he had met back in Shadow Moses. Ocelot captured the new Metal Gear, known as Ray, with help from his compatriot Colonel Sergei Gerlukovich. However, Ocelot betrayed Gerlukovich and left him to die as he sunk the tanker while piloting the Metal Gear Ray. Snake was blamed for the tanker incident and branded a terrorist by the government. He was not found after the incident and was declared killed in action. In 2009, Big Shell was suffering from a hostile takeover by a terrorist group known as Dead Cell. Snake, that has been labeled a national threat after the tanker incident 2 years earlier, kept a low profile and disguised himself as a member of the SEAL Team 10 by the identity of J.G. Pliskin. Inside, he met Raiden, the new agent of Colonel Campbell. He also met a woman named Olga, the daughter of Colonel Gerlukovich. Snake and Olga decided to cooperate in order to find out what Dead Cell and Ocelot was up to. He was soon to discover that the third child of l'Enfant Terrible, his older brother, would make his appearance. Solid Snake was the former US President George Sears, and Snake later revealed his true identity to Raiden, and the two teamed up to take down not only the Metal Gear Rays but the mobile fortress Arsenal Gear. As the mission was completed, Snake pursued Ocelot as he was fleeing the scene in the last functioning Ray. Nothing was heard from Snake for years. In 2014, tension had risen in the Middle East and there were suspicions of a certain Russian interrogator mobilizing a large-scale army. Colonel Campbell was re-establishing contact with Snake for one final mission. Snake was now 42 years old, but the Fox-Die had accelerated his aging, making him closer to 60. After attaching Liquid's arm to Ocelot back in 2009, the DNA between the two meshed, giving Ocelot a whole new personality, one of his former self, but also one of David's brother Liquid Snake. Snake went there, and short thereafter he met up with Rat Patrol 01, where Colonel Campbell's niece Meryl were in command. He also encountered his biological mother, giving him more information on the Patriots and how the conspiracies were intertwined. He also met Raiden, whose aspiring personality was reduced to a cynical attitude of indifference. After suffering from both the fox die and major battle injuries, Snake finally managed to unveil the conspiracy, destroying the network that was maintaining it all. As a final flashback, he fought Liquid Ocelot in hand-to-hand combat. He emerged victorious. As things was put to rest, Snake retreated. He had spent 19 years of his life fighting the global terrorist threat that was Metal Gear. He had suffered both physically and mentally, and had become nothing more than a grey old shadow of his former self, slowly atrophying because of the Fox-Die virus. As he was standing by the grave of his newly found father, Big Boss, a familiar voice startled him, a voice he hadn't heard since the Outer Haven mission back in 1995. Behind him stood the man who once initiated him into this complicated web of bipedal warfare, the one who became a mentor for him, his father, Big Boss. He was not dead, and Snake was able to meet him again, but this time on father and son terms, not as enemies in a manufactured war. Unfortunately, Big Boss had little time left and died in his son's arms. This were to be the final mission of Solid Snake. He decided to retire for good this time, and live a life in peace and tranquility.